This chapter is part of the RTransform video essay book. This is a collaboration between Care for Young People's Future and Coventry University, both located within the UK in different parts of the country. To learn about the method of producing a gathering in each context, we worked collectively and collaboratively with various organizations throughout the UK. We worked with grassroots organizations, the Roma Women, the NCC, as well as our political partners and our advisory board. We took our grassroots work and we also did outreach in areas. We identified the women from the Roma community that would like to be involved. We worked with them in a number of ways and activities. We looked at empowerment, raising aspirations, engagement, and we had weekly meetings throughout the UK. We worked in Sheffield, we worked with political partners. We spent 3 to 4 months in advance with each of our political partners, working with them, working with the schools, working with different leaders in different organizations. And we also worked very, very closely with our NCC women and the girls and the role models in preparing for each gathering. We selected our role models collectively. We decided on the venues and we co-created materials and designed the leaflets and also created materials that could be used and shared with the schools as well as the organizations and the political partners that were involved. Academically, all of the work is underpinned by academic research. So that scientific underpinning is there and was also brought to each meeting and was discussed at each preparatory meeting. With our role models, we also worked on their speeches. We talked about their journey, and we really pulled out the essence and the key moments that helped them gain educational success. And those grassroots women were from various profiles, were from different ages, from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and also different Roma communities. Here in the UK, we have the Gypsy Roma Traveller community. We have Roma from Eastern Europe, but that could be from Slovakia, from Czech Republic, from Spain, from a number of different contexts. And we worked with the community to ensure that we were representative of the diversity of the Roma population that resides in the UK. We selected 4 important topics over the years, and that differed from gathering to gathering and also from meeting to meeting with the key stakeholders. Oftentimes, it was always centered around education, but sometimes it was around empowerment or health or political mobilizations. We did research to show and to present to the Roma women what is currently out there and how the scientific aspect of this work continues to evolve. And we brought them along with that research. And we also worked in groups to identify the different topics, and we celebrated our culture, the role models, while also raising aspirations. The gatherings, there were several gatherings that we had, a total of 3 in the UK, in Sheffield, and we've also worked with other organizations and institutions to consider how they can support the gatherings, how they can have different ways of replicating this model. The gatherings were always led by our grassroots organization, Care for Young People's Future, which is Teresia Rostas is the director. Their work is linked with bringing and having a very different and flexible approach to create safe spaces, and they recognize the community, and it's run by Roma for Roma. They have several Roma professionals in key institutions, and the NCC was also part of this work and part of the Care for Young People's Future. They have been working in Sheffield and throughout the UK for the last 5 years. And at the time that this video essay is made, the organization is growing, and the NCC members, the initial members from the first year, are now employed members of the organization. And so it really shows the evolution of what working and how the project has supported the grassroots Roma women in a number of ways. They work in partnership, and they carry the culture with them everywhere. And so that Roma culture, our Roma culture, is embedded in everything they do at Care for Young People's Future. And that was also part of the gatherings that were carried out. Um, each gathering embraced everyone's culture. As we've said, the gatherings were quite diverse in scope, in size, in role models, but also very timely and specific to the topics that were important to the Roma women and the grassroots Roma women involved in organizing those gatherings. The Roma women were always dreaming about schools or university or political mobilization. And so each gathering always brought through that line, that thread. We've had different gatherings that had different types of role models. One of the things that one of the role models always said was, "We belong here," and they were referencing the university. They were referencing the work that's happening at the schools, but also within the university. The political impact for the project has been manifold. The working with local organizations, the city council, both in Sheffield and Coventry, in Margate, in several cities throughout the UK. A few of the political impact that we've achieved was bringing more visual representations from the Roma community into the universities, into making the Roma role models, the Roma professionals, the Roma work, the Roma organizations, the grassroots voices, bringing that into the universities, and committing to also supporting future gatherings and having the work be recognized not only by the university, but also another key impact we had was that the Department for Education asked us for evidence, and we were able to provide evidence and have the data for the DFE. We've presented the work at the parliaments. We've presented the project and our research and our findings to a number of different um, uh, city council members, university professionals, to local schools here in South Yorkshire, but also within the West Midlands, and really brought the outputs that were coming, that were revealing themselves throughout the project to those various stakeholders. The project had a political impact in that it carried out the 20 plus educational workshops, sometimes working in schools and ensuring that the teachers were involved, but also bringing the families along and upskilling the families to help deliver those workshops. We've worked within universities, local colleges, secondary schools, community organizations, NHS health institutions. We've worked very closely with Sheffield Children's Hospital and ensuring that their work is educationally sensitive to the Roma community, culturally aware of the Roma community's needs, as well as allowing and creating resources for these health institutions, and ensuring that the families could also co-create materials, and that the NHS and the health institutions could listen and understand how to better and improve their resources, but also their engagement with the families, because health is also a key part of our work with the political work that's happened. We've worked with schools, we've developed resources, building Roma libraries across different schools with other public libraries. We've held leadership sessions. Role models have gone and spoken to those organizations, and we've ensured that political individuals that finance those resources could also ensure that they have a commitment to the resources that were created within RTransform for those to land and to be utilized by the organization. We've been tackling inequalities and building healthier communities, working specifically with different councils and ensuring that their city goals are also including an intercultural educational way of exploring and working with the Roma families, as well as explaining what the gatherings are, showing them with the videos, with the resources, with the reports, what's possible with those gatherings. And we've had buy-in and we have support. How have we done this? We've done this in a number of different ways. We've worked with a logic framework. We've taken the academic as well as the grassroots Roma voices, and we've brought those together. And we've seen that through allowing and creating spaces for the Roma women to enter into conversation and to be listened to, we've had a huge impact. And from that, recommendations have been produced, and those recommendations and the key findings speak to acknowledging and strengthening the Roma women's movements, to improving educational expectations for our Roma women and girls, making the voices of the Roma women heard through understanding that they are parts of the solution. I repeat, part of that solution. And finally, creating messages for the needs of the Roma women, including them in policy-making processes and following up with the implementation and evaluation of these policies. Once we can ensure that these four elements are happening and embedded in work, then we know that we can listen to what our Roma women want. And right now, this is specifically at this moment in time, at the end of the project, what our Roma women that have been engaging with us for the last 3 years really feel that they need. And the first one, they want better visual and in-person representation in educational settings and in the health sector, that the Roma history and language to be visible, accessible, and recognized in educational institutions, to create a Romani studies program that will increase to more of the Roma students and access to higher university, create resources for Roma and non-Roma to recognize our heritage, to have financial support and mentoring for Roma students, women and girls, such as bursaries, to attend, visit, and collaborate with local colleges, universities, museums, arts, educational settings, and the health systems, to be recognized and encouraged and welcomed in higher educational colleges, museums, and also health institutions, to receive mentoring, needed support, and accessing and finding and belonging in educational and cultural spaces, and to have financial help when enrolled in higher educational programs, and to ensure that bursaries can support the existing inequalities and gaps, to commit to existing pledges that support Roma in educational spaces, to create a partnership with lived experience communities, and to celebrate and to have a community calendar where heritage, arts, education can all exist and be represented in that community calendar. Removing barriers such as requirements for the diplomas, the certificates, and to recognize that lived experience as an alternative way of an alternative educational stream, to create in partnership a cultural Roma studies course that can be studied by Roma and non-Roma to tackle inequalities and lack of representation, and to create educational resources that incorporate the Roma history and our Roma language into these existing courses, to train Roma academic mentors, to train and create Roma health champions, doctors and nurses from the Roma community, to support those language barriers, illiteracy, and those who need support for well-being, to train Roma to become interpreters, teachers, business and sports, doctors, artists, and to be visually and physically present in different spaces. The RTransform project has been an incredible journey. We started in COVID, we've ended in 2023, and we've seen an incredible journey, an incredible amount of Roma women, young people engaging and being parts of co-creating these political recommendations and ensuring that these recommendations are representative of the individual, but also the collective voice. And so that people could feel identified in these recommendations, in these political policies that we've co-created. And the political partners and institutions have listened and have learned to listen and to learn to ask questions and taken that a step forward and also agreed that they could do more. They could support and allow more resources to enter, to funnel into this work, and that the Roma community can support and bring forward the the solutions, because through education we break those cycles of violence, and through education and having our role models and creating dialogical spaces like the gatherings, an incredible amount of change is possible, and we see it in the various strands of the RTransform project.